Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Locke and this is my Module 1, Communicating Who You Are. So who am I? I am an agriculture education teacher. I have been for the last 7 years. I graduated from K-State in 2013 and began my teaching career at Wilson Junior Senior High School in the fall of 2013. Um, I am a single mom of a 4-year-old boy named Henry. He's over here in his uncle's cop car. This is our check egg at Wilson. Wilson is the check capital of Kansas. This is our Power Dragon symbol. I figured I'd put that on there. And then obviously the Power Cat symbol. What I teach currently, I am teaching animal science, plant and animal science, intro to ag, which is a freshman level class, welding 1, exploratory ag, which is 8th grade, and I have a reading class. In the past, I have taught food science, vet science, welding 2, advanced ag mechanics, and ag leadership. And I have to say, with the announcement that the governor made yesterday for the state of Kansas, it's going to be a very interesting task to continue to teach, especially like my welding class online, because it's all hands on. So moving that virtual is going to be very interesting. A little bit more about me. I am the Wilson FFA advisor. I had a student who was elected to state office last May. I don't have a lot of hobbies. Being a single mom and an ag teacher and the FFA advisor takes a majority of my time. When I can, I go to the gym to work out, and I like to read. I'm obsessed with the author Cassandra Clare, which she wrote the Shadowhunter series. If you haven't checked it out, it's a very good series, especially it's a young adult series. And so your students will really like it too if you're a high school teacher. 10 things that I gleaned from the resources. The first, there should be a shift from central office control to building level control. And I think my school district is a prime example of this. My school district is a consolidated school district, and so all of the funds run through the central office. But it doesn't always give the perception of being fair almost. Um, Next thing that I gleaned, site or school-based management system. I hadn't really heard of that before this. Honestly, I don't know a lot about school finance, and so this class hopefully will give me a crash course. SBM, it requires school board approval. Again, thinking about my current school district, I don't see that necessarily happening. The argument for keeping it centrally managed is that there is a need for consistency, the process will be efficient, and then the cost effectiveness needing to be the same across the district. I understand that, and I understand the argument for being a centrally managed system, but when you work in a school district that is consolidated, that is across, I believe we have 8 different towns, and we essentially have a north end of the district and a south end of the district. We don't always need the same things. Our students not necessarily are wanting the same things out of the teachers, and they're not necessarily wanting the same things. We don't like. I am the ag teacher essentially on the north end, and there's an ag teacher on the south end. We don't even teach the same classes from year to year. So what I need and what he needs is a little bit different. There is this fear that principals don't have enough financial literacy or basic knowledge of bookkeeping. And then there's the fear of giving that power to the principal and putting them essentially in charge of the books. That I can understand. I have a little bit of fear of that, of being in charge. But I believe through some training, professional development, that kind of stuff, that principals will be able to handle it. I put on here the financial sheets, the income statements, balance sheet, and cash flow sheet. Up until this point, I hadn't really considered schools as being businesses. However, when you think about the financial aspects of everything, you essentially have to. And so, income sheets, balance sheets, cash flow statement. I've seen all those through accounting. I teach about those in a ag business unit, and so I'm not necessarily new to them. It was just something that I was like, oh, I should probably think about those. And then the financial tools that principals can use, like the FinX, AP Accounting by Redecure, and FreshBooks. I didn't know there was so many options, and it's kind of like, okay, what's going to work for the school that I eventually am the principal for, and what can I understand, the program, and that kind of stuff. Um, that was kind of eye opening. State legislators and district officials have a large amount of control over how the money in education is spent. Part of this I knew, but the percent that this article and this author gave was 92%. And that to me is quite substantial when there's only 8% would be left over. That's a little crazy to me. If we went to a decentralized funding system, it would allow building principals to make decisions that are best for the student population at school. That is a prime statement for my school district. We, like I said, we have two ag teachers. We have me on the north end and Mr. Ryan on the south end, and we don't always teach the same courses. He teaches more welding classes than I do, and I teach more science classes than he does. And so it's we don't need the same things. And so if my principal had more control over how my classroom budget was spent, I think we could serve my students better. School finance formulas determine how much money is given to different school districts. This I knew, but this article I felt gave me more of an insight into, okay, we really have to look at how our states and our legislators are setting up the finance formulas, is it fair and that kind of stuff. And then this last one, charter school principals in certain states already are directly given state funds. Um, I think here in the state of Kansas and in other states, we should look at those states that already give the money straight to the principal for the charter schools and see, well, is it working? Do the charter school principals find struggles with this stuff? And maybe we can learn from that. And then maybe we could move to, not just a centralized, but principals being more in charge. What have I seen? I've said it before, my principal doesn't have full control. Our district office does. I do know that our principal will fight for when the district money needs to be spent on our students. He uh, always tries to make it seem fair and that kind of stuff. In our buildings, the funds for different organizations like Wilson FFA are managed by our accountant slash secretary. She works in the front office. Um, any of the money that I get, any kind of income I get for Wilson FFA, donations, anything like that, goes straight to her. What concerns do I have? Reading the financial sheets and making sure that I understand them. It has been a long time since my accounting course, and I said earlier I do teach a record keeping when it comes to FFA, but it's different and it's not um, necessarily going to be the same. I know some of it's going to be the same, but I want to make sure that I understand specifically how this relates to my school. And the other thing I put on here, transparency is not great in my current district. We've gone through a lot of financial hardships. I'm sure a lot of schools have, and a lot of districts have, making cuts and budget cuts. And I feel like I haven't quite understood in the 7 years that I've been in this district how we've gone from we were pretty stable when I first started to this last summer. We closed a building because of money. And I guess I personally would feel better if I knew, okay, what went wrong? Like, where did the money go? Like, if my district was more transparent, and even if you just explain to us, okay, we had this happen, we had this happen, we had this happen. And so then we had to close this building because we couldn't support the student population in that building. I feel like that would go better essentially. And so for me, I feel like as a principal, when it comes to money, especially with my teachers and my staff, like being transparent and making sure that I communicate, okay, here's where our school building or school district, whatever I'm in charge of, here is where we are financially. And I feel like in the past, my current district really hasn't done that. Okay, and my final slide, the reference for the 4 different articles that we read. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to learning from everybody.